So today I want to go ahead and give my full review on the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. I've actually seen the movie twice at this point. The first time I saw it in theaters, and that was my first experience. The second time I watched it on Peacock. So I've actually gotten both the at-home and the theater experience, which is rare for me with a movie. But, it's such a big movie that I've been waiting for such a long time. I felt that I needed to talk about it, or at least document my thoughts to look back at a later time, maybe years down the road. So yeah, this movie was very anticipated, and I think due to that, I definitely had a bit of high expectations, and probably higher than I should have, being the movie had a $25 million budget. Well, with recent news, the movie actually broke like $130 million at the box office the last weekend for the opening weekend, which broke a lot of records from what I've read, which is, really interesting. So, very excited about the potentials of a sequel. Now, to the actual movie review, I want to start out by just giving my general thoughts on the movie and the actors and writing. So, if you don't know, a lot of what happened in the games has been changed up for this movie. A lot of lore. It's very different in many ways. I think the biggest being, spoilers, but that Vanessa is actually William Afton's daughter and Michael is not his son in this movie, at least as far as we know. And that being said, it's still a very interesting change. I think it was, I think when you make a movie, like they did in the Sonic movie, like some things need to be changed at some points, but you don't have to change everything to make it a movie, alright? Like Sonic didn't need to look like that, we don't need the animatronics to look different, and that's, why Jim Henson's did such a good job. But Vanessa being William Afton's daughter, it was interesting, but I think it'll be interesting to see what happens in the sequels. Like, what happens to Vanessa when she wakes up in the hospital? If she becomes Vanny or she stays the same. Now, moving on real quick to the actual actors, like how the actors did. Speaking of Vanessa, I think Josh Hutcherson, I think he was the best actor in the movie. That's just my opinion. I think a lot of people are going to say William Afton was the best. I've heard a lot of people say Piper Rubio as Abby was the best actor, too, just because she's a child actor. I believe that was her first movie. Very impressive. The only actor I didn't really like in this movie was Elizabeth Lail as Vanessa. And I think that's just due to the writing of her. I think the writing in this movie overall was not really that great, and I'm surprised Scott denied so many scripts and it came out like this, honestly. I think the writing was the weakest part of this movie. Like, the big thing I was talking to actually about a coworker about today was how Vanessa goes from, playing with Mike and Abby in the pizzeria with the animatronics to a minute later telling Mike, like, if you bring her again, I will shoot you. Like, why are you suddenly changing your opinions on him bringing Abby? Like, it's just so weird. And I feel like, as the director, I think her name's Emma Tammy, said, like, there's a lot of unanswered questions. Like, there is a lot of, what would you say, like, plot holes that need answered in the sequel. So, I think overall, the writing was probably the weakest part of this movie, and that leads to another part of the discussion that I think I felt really a lot. And the first time I saw it in theaters, I saw it with my mom. She's not a FNAF fan or anything. She said that the movie was just so slow she almost fell asleep at times. Now, I agree with that. I mean, if you're not a FNAF fan, this movie is probably really not for you. Like, the beginning of this movie is extremely slow. I think until, honestly, like, I don't know, man. Definitely more than halfway into the movies when it starts to, like, really pick up. And that beginning scene in the movie with the initial security guard, it's a pretty good scene. It really sets the tone for the movie, but then it just gets so slow when we learn about Mike, we learn about Abby, and it just gets so slow. But, even though it's slow, I do enjoy, I think the dream sequences are very interesting, obviously a new thing to the series. I thought they were interesting. I wasn't a big fan of them. I really think that they slowed down the movie. But it was very interesting. Like, I really liked, honestly, just seeing how Mike interacted with the ghosts of the kids. And how he was kind of, just like, where is Garrett? And Garrett also, a new character in this movie. We only see him when he's being really stolen by, we assume, William Afton. He's very interesting. And Mike's parents, we have no idea if it's the Emily's or what this is going to be for a sequel. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be Henry Emily as his father. I think it's going to be somebody totally different. So I think we're going to get that in a sequel. There's a lot of questions. That's just what I'm realizing while I'm talking about this out loud. Like, we have more questions than answers from this movie. So I think the movie just could have done better in explaining the lore. Like, with how slow it was, man. Like, it really could have given us more information, especially for people that don't know this franchise. Like, even as somebody who does know this franchise pretty well, I would say, like, I don't understand a lot of where they're going with some things yet, but that's why I guess we really need a sequel to kind of explain some things, but I hope that movie's not slow. Now, my last really big complaint is I don't know, it's like a lot of, when we saw like Hank and his crew break into the pizzeria and try and destroy it, it's like, we just saw, it was just very like, the deaths, most of them happened off camera, and I get it's PG-13, but it's like, I want to see the animatronics actually jump scaring people. Like, I want to get scared in this movie, and it was like, it just didn't happen. Like, we see Hank die in the closet to Bonnie, it was like, happens off camera. So like, missed opportunities, you know, like, show us Bonnie jump scaring him or something, or, you know, I don't know. There's some moments I really liked in this movie. I think the biggest one everybody liked was when William Afton, you know, Matthew Lillard, he comes out in the spring Bonnie suit, and he's beating up Mike, and then, you know, he gets spring locked, which is cool to see, but it was kind of, I almost feel like slapstick cartoony, like when we see him like, when he's like being spring locked. It's just kind of goofy to me. Yeah. So Corey Kinshrin being in the movie, that was cool. Matt Pat, so cool. I was really happy to see him in the movie. I did not expect it. You know, Markiplier, hopefully he's in a sequel. If they make a sequel, my biggest want is to see Markiplier. I'm not even kidding you. That would make me so happy. Yeah, so overall, did I like this movie? Yeah, my rating for this movie would be a 7 out of 10. I've given it a lot of thought. It's not good enough to get an 8 out of 10. It's not bad enough to get a D, a 6 out of 10. This movie was very average for me. A 7 out of 10 feels right for me. Yeah, I was not a huge fan of this movie walking out of it, and throughout it I was not a huge fan, but I was very invested while watching it. I was pretty entertained. I was just, the whole time I'm like, I want more William Afton. I think in the sequel we need that. Like, if they're smart, they will give us flashbacks maybe of, with Matthew Lillard as William Afton opening Freddy Fazbear's. They need to incorporate Henry Emily in some way. Like, you just need to do that. Like, yeah, and come on. It's just not Five Nights at Freddy's if we don't get a Markiplier scene in it. Like, come on. I really hope that happens. So, yeah, I think the casting, though, overall for this movie was really good. I think Josh Hutcherson was, you know, the scene that really gets me is when he screams, like, no, this was the wrong decision. Like, you get away from my sister. Like, you really see, like, Josh Hutcherson putting in his 100%. I think Matthew Lillard, you can see when he's yelling at the animatronics there at the, like, last scene with him, like, you really get, like, this idea that he's really into it. So I think Matthew Lillard and Josh Hutcherson are great. Elizabeth Lail, she just kind of, I think it was just the writing was the problem. You know, Piper Rubio as Abby, I think she did a great job. This kid was funny, cool. So yeah, I'd love to see the actors return overall. I mean, I think, you know, we just need better writing for Vanessa. We need better writing in general. You know, and then the director of this movie, I think, you know, like Emma Tammy or whatever her name is, I think her returning would be fine. You know, as long as Scott's overwatching it. But, you know, with Scott retiring too, I don't think we're going to see Scott come back for another one. I don't know. That's not really clear to me, because I was pretty sure Five Nights at Freddy's and then Security Breach, of course. It's like the movie and then the video game Security Breach were his last projects, I thought. So I think Scott's done, which is really sad to hear, honestly, but I think that's how it's going to be. Without Scott, watching over a sequel, like, I'm a little scared. But regardless, I want more Five Nights at Freddy's, so I'd be very happy with the sequel regardless. I hope it's good. Yeah, my overall review in this movie is going to be a 7 out of 10. My favorite scenes in the movie we're watching William Afton come out in the Spring Bonnie suit. I really liked the first scene in the movie, honestly. And then, Josh Hutcherson and the dream sequences, and then just that whole ending to the movie. The ending was the best part. Like, if we had that kind of pace throughout the movie, it would have been fantastic. But yes, that's my review. Hope we see Markiplier in the sequel. Thank you guys for watching.